Welcome to the BC Wine Show. I'm Marnie Martin with Vista Wine Group, and I'm interviewing some of BC's top, most successful winemakers and industry pros on how and why they do what they do and what they're up to next. So grab yourself a glass of wine, and I'll see you on the inside.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the BC Wine Show. I'm Marnie Martin with Vista Wine Group, and today on the show I have Bobby Gidda from Volcanic Hills Winery in the beautiful West Kelowna area. Welcome, Bobby. I'm so grateful we have a few moments to sit down and chat today.
Perfect. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate being on the show.
So now, for anybody who doesn't know, the Volcanic Hills Winery is right on Mount Boucherie Road as you're coming down through West Kelowna, probably about halfway down. And how much land do you guys have there?
So last year we had 80 acres. This year we actually purchased some land back in March. So we're about 88 acres now.
Wow.
And of the 88 acres, we have probably about 75 acres planted as grapes. And then the rest of it is a little bit of apples, a little bit of cherries as well, still for soft fruits.
Nice. Yeah, I bet you probably don't realize this, but I actually went to Mount Boucherie High School. And I remember when all of that land right where you guys are was apple orchards, and it was a whole different landscape back then.
Yeah, so our family's been here in the Okanagan for just over 55 years now. Originally got our start in the apple business. We were one of the largest apple growers in West Kelowna, or West Bank at the time. And then we slowly ventured into the cherries. So at one point, I believe we had about 7 or 8 acres of cherries. And then we also had some grapes. And as the wine industry continued to grow and evolve, we replaced some apples with more grapes and bought more land, and eventually got more grapes under our belt. So at one point in time, we had roughly 250 acres of grapes, and that was my dad and his 2 brothers and my grandfather. So it was the early 90s. We decided to build a winery with family members. So by the time we got capital and put it in place, so in 2000, we opened up Mount Boucherie.
Right.
And then in 2008, my family, so my dad, my brother, my sister, we sold our shares to family members. And then we took the proceeds. In 2010 is when we opened the doors for Volcanic Hills. So just May 2010 has been our 10-year anniversary.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. And it's just like right next door. So
yeah, right next door.
Didn't have to move too far.
No, it's really easy, because the nice thing about West Kelowna is all of the land that we own is right here in West Kelowna. So it's really easy to manage and easy to get the grapes to the winery. So in most cases, the day we harvested that day or the next day is when we were able to process the grapes. So it's very quick turnaround time, which is great for the grapes.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing at the winery in terms of growing sustainably, and how you're maybe using your farming practices to create sustainably grown wine.
Yeah, I mean, right from day one, I mean, we've always tried to be great to Mother Nature, because she's kind to us in most years.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to look at some photos of the winery, we have quite a bit of landscaping right at the front. So all that landscaping goes right back into the vineyard. And then all the byproduct of winemaking, so the grape skins, the seeds, the stems, all that after the wine's fermented just goes back in the vineyard as well. So it's just natural compost. We try to be gentle with the wine, so we try not to spray when we don't have to, and we try to irrigate as not as much as we should be. So like, for example, the site here at the winery, it's got a lot of clay soil, so we only irrigate probably 6 times a year.
Wow.
which is not a lot, considering
No.
how much land you can see in the picture here is planted. And then all the wastewater that we use. So wastewater is basically all the water that we use to clean the tanks and winemaking. So all of that goes into a big wastewater treatment plant that we have on site.
Okay.
And then that water is aerated. The solids are broken down. The solids will then go back into the vineyard because it's just nutrients, dead yeast cells that just go back to the vineyard. So it's great fertilizer. And then the water at this point goes into the sewer system, but eventually when irrigation becomes fairly expensive, then we can use that and we can actually irrigate the vineyards when we get to it. We right now on site we have three varietals planted. We have the Pinot Gris, Zweigelt, and Riesling. The Zweigelt and the Pinot Gris are the oldest that we have here on site. So you can see in the photo behind me here, basically where my head is. This is kind of the Riesling and the Pinot Gris in the very back. So the Pinot Gris and the Zweigelt are, like I said, just over 25 years old now.
Wow. I believe up at the winery, you actually have, I think, one of the largest tasting rooms as well, don't you? So tell us a little bit about what consumers can expect to find when they come to the winery.
So, I mean, being our second winery, or my first winery, my dad's second winery, we learned a lot from the first winery that we built. So we've put a lot of emphasis on the tasting room in this construction project. So we built a fairly large wine shop. It's roughly 4,000 square feet. One really large, big tasting bar, and then a very open tasting room. Lots of space to walk around. So we have, my sister does all of our shopping for our merchandise. So there's lots of different merchandise to look at. And then with the large bar, if the bar is busy, especially during a nice summer day, there's lots of stuff to look at. We have some beautiful leather sofas, especially for people that aren't tasting. They can at least take a break and enjoy the big wine shop, and then they actually get to overlook the view here that we see in the photo.
Nice. I know when I've been to the wine shop, it's if there's anything you've ever been looking for in terms of wine paraphernalia, you'll find it at Volcanic Hills for sure. You guys have a really incredible selection. And of course, very, very nice people as well. I've always had a very nice experience when I've been up there with your staff and yourself as well. So,
yeah, most of our staff has been with us for the last 8-9 years. So we're lucky that we continue having great staff.
Yeah, and people don't generally stay in a job if they're not being treated well. So that probably speaks volumes about the way you guys manage your place as well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what do you guys have new happening right now? I know it's a little bit different with all the COVID stuff that's been going on, but tell us a little bit about maybe some of the changes that you've made to the wine shop in order to accommodate that. And then maybe let's talk about some of the new releases that you might have coming out.
Sure, yeah. So for the safety procedures, I mean, we've most of our staff are older and higher risk. So we put plexiglass screens on the tasting bar, and then as well as on the POS counter, just to protect them. Obviously, our cleaning regimen is a lot more than what it normally is, so that's important. So for new stuff, we've the last harvest, we actually did some, we picked some Pinot Noir a little bit early. And the reason we did that is to make a bubbly rosé. So week of the 8th of June here, 2020, we're going to be bottling the 2019 bubbly Gewurz and the 2019 bubbly rosé. So the rosé is going to be brand new for us. We haven't done a bubbly rosé before, so it should be interesting. We're going to do a small production, roughly about 250, 300 cases roughly.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. When we first started our rosé, we did about 200 cases, and it won Lieutenant Governor's Award in its first year. So that wasn't too bad.
That's great.
And then every year we've slowly increased our rosé production. So we're roughly around 1,000 cases of rosé now. And then just listening to people over the tasting counter and what they were looking for, we've done a sweet red wine as well, which is called Lava Red. So what we did is we've taken our Magma Red blend and we've added some ice wine to it. And then we also tweak it with a little bit of Merlot as well, just to balance out the sweetness. So when we first started the Lava Red, again, it was about 200 cases, just a small test trial to see how it does. So the first year we did it, I think it was 2011. It sold out within 3 weeks.
Wow,
And
that's incredible.
It takes a while to make it. So it's just like making a red wine. So it takes just over a year and a bit to make it, and then a little bit of aging. Right now we're about just over 1,000, about 1,200 cases. So we've just finally gotten to the point where we're able to sustain a year. So the next vintage is ready. So we've had great support from our customers. It's been great.
That's amazing. I know rosé is a really, really big thing right now. And obviously that profile of red wine drinker as well has, you know, really risen in the marketplace of having a little bit of a sweeter red. So that's incredible that you guys are jumping on. Is there any other trends you guys sort of see happening in the BC wine industry that you're thinking you might jump on?
Like, you know, dry wines, like dry rosés, dry whites. So, you know, like we have a white blend that's dry, Pinot Gris that's dry, a Gewürztraminer that's dry. So there's a good selection of wines for the people that don't like sweet wines as well as sweet wines. So we actually have 4 different ice wines that we produce as well. Most of our reds are dry as well. There's just the lava red that's sweet. So we have, you know, with all those selections, we have you know, great options for a lot of people. We're actually going to try planting Merlot and Malbec. So the planting should be done in another month or so. It takes about 3 years for the first leaf to happen, and then 4th and 5th years when we get the full production. So it should be interesting to see how this site goes. So the majority of the Malbec will probably go into the eruption, is my best guess. We've planted more Zweigelt and Gamay Noir. So eventually the Zweigelt, once the production levels increase, we'll hopefully do a straight Zweigelt. I'd love to have one because we get so many requests for it. But just the Zweigelt goes into our Magma Red, which also makes the Lava Red. And we also use Zweigelt to make ice wine because we need that for the Lava Red. Right. So we use Zweigelt in quite a few of our wines. So we've planted more, and we planted more last year. So eventually those will come into production in a couple of years, and hopefully production levels increase to a point where we're able to do a straight Zweigelt.
Yeah, I know. I love Zweigelt too. So it's definitely one you don't see single varietal all that often anyways, not in BC.
Yeah, there's only about 4 wineries in the Okanagan that I know that grows Zweigelt and actually do a single varietal. It's very, very few considering there's over 300 wineries. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, obviously this year's a little bit different, but I think, you know, are you starting to see the consumers coming in a little bit more, even though it's not quite tourist season yet?
Well, we just started tastings on Friday, so it's been 3 days, and wow. The weekend was fairly busy considering that we just opened. So yeah, people are definitely bored of being at home, and you can definitely see the tasting rooms getting busy fairly quickly. So we have a restaurant. So our chef, his name is Colin Raymer. He's been with the winery for 5 years now, I believe. So he's the owner and chef of Blue Heron Bistro, which is obviously at Volcanic Hills. So we have this beautiful patio that you can sort of see in the picture there. On a good year, we can have about 100 people in the patio, but we limit it to about 50 just to keep it very open. And then we also have an indoor dining room where we can comfortably seat probably about 30 or 40 people. So Colin doesn't really say, he doesn't like to say he has a style, but I would say like he's a Mediterranean fusion. But he's, you know, depending on the day, if he wants to do a little bit of Indian or Mexican, he's pretty versatile on what he can and can't do in the kitchen.
I know lots of people that have come through to me that have said, you know, if you haven't stopped in there to eat, it's one of the places you definitely have to try on West Kelowna for sure. So
yeah, I think just like most restaurants at wineries in the Okanagan, always make a reservation.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thanks for spending some time with me, and have a great summer if I don't see you, and we'll hopefully talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Take care. Bye for now.
You too. Bye.
And now I'd love to hear from you. If you have a question for a future guest or a comment, please put it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and the big red subscribe button right down below. Thanks for joining us today on the BC Wine Show. And until next time, stay well, be kind, and enjoy responsibly.